Notes for my January 2025 reading of 1950 novel The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. Today is Saturday, 18 January 2025. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. I'm going to talk through my book and reading notes for my January 2025 reading of a space travel science fiction novel, The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. Copyrights to the 1940s, initially published in 1950. This is the March 2012 Simon & Schuster first paperback edition. Paperback ISBN in the video description. I started the book on Wednesday, 15 January 2025 and finished the book on Saturday, 18 January 2025. It's 241 pages. It took me 4 days. I read 30 pages Wednesday, 90 pages Thursday, 90 pages Friday, and 31 pages Saturday. It's a public library copy. This is one where I was like, I'm going to go look at this, peruse the fiction shelves. And I saw this and I was like, I like Ray Bradbury. Between Ray Bradbury and John Steinbeck, I have a preference for Ray Bradbury. So I was like, I'll get one of these. All right. So, and then I read it. Is there anything else for the introduction? Just an emphasis on, so the book was written before 1950, and the copyrights in here go back to, like, I think it goes as far back as 1945, and then it was initially published 1950. So, it's a reminder that this story, however it's packaged, exists before the publication, at least in the case of this book. So, it's written before 1950, but initially published in 1950. All right, book notes including construction and design. It was a nice, can hold in my hand style. The chapters are like month, year, topic entries. So it's like it's a, a log of sorts on what's happening in, I think that's where the Chronicles comes from, as each one is like an entry, a chronicle. And together they form the Martian Chronicles because it's about people on Mars. Yeah. Living on Mars. So there we go. And it's full text pages. No pictures or anything. I liked it. It was actually, so small font, small spacing, full text pages. It was, but it wasn't it wasn't like tiny font. It was a small font. So it worked for me. So I liked the construction and design. I liked, it's red to evoke Mars. So there we go. Reading notes. So it's a snowballing story of, there have been people on Mars, the Martians, for the planet of Mars, for over 50 centuries. And so then, a mission arrives from Earth. But they're like, do people actually live on the third rock from the sun? Because these are the native peoples of Mars, And so then the Earth people arrive. It starts with one mission, but then it was the second mission, and they're like, we don't know what happened to the first mission. And it's a rocket, and then more rockets come, it starts to snowball, more rockets, and then there's a rocket after rocket after rocket, but not with a crew to exceed 20, and then there's a bunch of rockets, and they come and they kind of strip away everything native and the kind of original surface of Mars to make way for their own tastes and their own stuff and the Earth stuff and kind of their own culture at the detriment of the original landscape and peoples of Mars, their civilizations. And then there's war back on Earth, and can you see the planet glow as the atom bombs are used and stuff like that. So this came out not too long after World War II, which I've covered, the usage of the atomic bomb, atomic bombs during World War II on this channel previously. So there's a little, there we go. And then it kind of ends with the Earthlings leaving Earth peoples, but then like throughout the story, like, the line is blurred between who was there first, the original peoples, the Martians, and the Earth people come, and then they kind of like question it and gaslight them, and then at the end it's kind of like, but they're looking in the river, but they're the Martians, So it's, yeah, and it gets into the kind of the philosophy, and then like well, did we really need to have a war to justify colonizing Mars and expanding to Mars, and that kind of stuff. So I would say, from my perspective reading this, Mr. Ray Bradbury was an expert in anthropology of the modern times. Like, it's amazing how much, and it's true for some of the other science fiction writers I've covered, like, you know, H.G. Wells. And so I've covered his 1895, The Time Machine. Some of the science fiction writers from pre-1977, since I've decided to use that as my year, like pre-1977 books and films, and kind of as a project / playlist I have on this YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi. So it's a number of them, and I would say even so, my background in science and mathematics, because of the nature of science and mathematics and even science fiction, I have teaching experience. I interact with people, and because science / mathematics is, there tends to be progress and stuff is new, and that gets kind of integrated into society. Science fiction writers, as well as kind of scientists and mathematicians, can become experts at anthropology and perhaps even more accurate in predicting culture like 75 years later. This is published 75 years ago. Than anthropologists or people with an anthropology degree, just because the people with the anthropology degree might have zero experience with the kind of the stuff that moves society forward in terms of like technological process, such as science and not engineering, because engineering, the source of that progress is science and mathematics. So if we're going to go to the true source, science and mathematics, all right, and then kind of those people, all right, so anthropologists might not even look at that, but that's kind of the heartbeat of forward's progress, or at least has been over these 75 years, so to speak, in terms of societal structures and infrastructure and stuff like that. So at the root, and so in that sense, it's a good reminder of that, of sometimes the experts and people aren't actually the people who study people. It's people who pay attention to people and interact with people and work in other industries. And it doesn't have to be just science and mathematics. There's been progress elsewhere as well. But the kind of the tone of forward progress plus social interaction and really caring and being perceptive and observant and integrating those perspectives, a person can become a anthropology expert, so to speak, at least from my perspective. So in conclusion, it marked full book finished number 4 for me for the 2025 year, and I give it 5 out of 5 stars. How did how I read it help with weight loss? Yes, I would be like waiting for my snack or a meal, and I'd be like I'm hungry, and so I'd read. I achieved net weight loss while reading this book, and that was even with like I ate more one day, so I still achieved net weight loss. So not a lot of weight loss, but a little bit, like a fraction of a pound. So yeah, it's good. No, so those are my notes for my January 2025 reading of 1950 novel, The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury.